happy music, so stay seated. We're killing time right now.
Are you?
Yeah, we're killing time because of the weather. People are gonna come in.
Well, I got a great way to kill time. It was your birthday a couple weeks ago, wasn't it?
Not me.
Didn't you turn 56?
Not me.
You were double nickel.
No, I turned 28.
28?
Yeah.
Well, let's sing you happy birthday.
Oh,
On
come on.
three.
No, it's already
One,
passed. It's already-
2,
it's
3.
already one and
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you. 26, all
Yay,
right.
Thank you. Bruce does not let me get away with that. Every year. So thank you. Thank you. All right, so you guys are going to get first dibs at this. I usually start my Sunday school lesson with a joke, and I'm gonna try my new material on you guys if that's all right. You ready? Ready back there? I heard about this husband that died. He left his wife $20,000. After, that's it, yeah. After the funeral, his wife told a friend that she was totally broke. The friend said, "What do you mean you were broke? How could you be totally broke? I thought he left you $20,000. She said, "Well, I spent $5,000 on the funeral and $15,000 on the memorial stone." The friend said, "Wow, that must have been some memorial stone. How big was it?" She held up her finger and said, 3.5 carats.
I like that.
That was the ring finger, yes. I know what you were thinking. It was the ring finger.
Yep.
All right.
You want to make sure you stay down there.
Cheapskate. All right, so we're all here because we don't want to get old, right? Raise your hand if you don't want to get old.
We better get old. We are old, not
I don't want to
ready.
get old. I want to reverse it a little bit.
All right, let me start over. This was not a good introduction.
No.
We're all here because we want to learn what to do to get younger. Yes?
Yeah.
All right. Getting old stinks. We want to learn what to do to be youthful and energetic. How do we do that? Age gracefully. All right, so I'm going to give you 7 keys to aging gracefully. Now, do you need, if you need a pencil or something to take notes on, raise your hand and we'll bring one over to you because, you know, some of these things you might kind of be familiar with, but more importantly is that you leave here remembering the important things that you know that you're like, oh yes, I need to start doing this. And it's going to be different for everyone. And you may hear some new things, you may hear some things that you're familiar with. But the most important thing is not what you hear, it's what you do with what you hear. Right or right?
You're right.
So I would encourage you to take notes. If you need a writing utensil, Deborah's got it for you. Let's start with the concept of mental fitness. I was telling a few of you guys that I was at my middle son Leon's graduation, and we stayed in a hotel there in Pensacola, woke up early in the morning, sitting at breakfast with my dad, and he's like, yeah, I was up at 4 o'clock this morning, you know, because of the time change, they're 1 hour behind you. So we were all up a little bit early. He's like, yeah, I was up at 4 o'clock. I do math problems. He does SAT math problems. So my dad's 85 years old, and one of his goals is to stay mentally what? Mentally fit. So, you know, I thought that was a perfect example. I use my own father, and I'll continue to do that because he's 85 years old. He's on 0 medications. He's active, he's sharp, he's lucid, mentally sharp to the point that it would challenge any one of us just to keep up with him. It is a spectacle. But one of the things that my dad will tell you is that, like, we all celebrated my son's graduation, and he's like, okay, so he's got 6 grandchildren. So he said, so he's got 2 graduations down and 4 more to go. So that was his outlook, you know, and he looks forward to these things. He looks forward to leaving, you know, his legacy with his wisdom, some of it's money, you know, giving gifts and stuff like that for these special occasions. And beyond that, he's, you know, my mother passed away 3 years ago. And the question is, how does that person go on after 57 years of marriage? But in his mind, he has something still to look forward to. His family and these milestones, and his grandchildren and their graduations and their marriages, and then the great-grandchildren. And this is what keeps him going. So if you ever feel like, you know, the good old days, how you were, maybe like you played football in high school, or you were prom king, or like those were the good old days, it'll never be as good as that. That's when you start getting old. But if you always make your future bigger than your past, this is how you stay young. First of all, by staying mentally fit. So if you still talk about your dreams, your aspirations, what you're still looking forward to, you are young. And that's a really important point, because we all have to do a checkup from the neck up. You could eat good and you can exercise and you can get adjusted and do all these things, but man, if we're not right mentally, it really sucks the life out of you, doesn't it? So we got to start right with that. Now, continuing on with mental fitness is what you're doing right now. Continue to learn and continue to grow. And I always encourage you to continue to come to the workshops. And I want to applaud you guys for being here tonight, because usually every month you're looking to pick up something new and exciting that you can learn and apply to improve your health and keep you healthy and keep you young. And so next month we have our diabetes and blood sugar control workshop. A big part of what you're going to learn tonight and staying well is making sure you have your metabolism under control. And if your metabolism is off, your blood sugar is going to be off, your weight's going to be off, you increase your risk of every degenerative disease, and it all starts with metabolic dysfunction. So we're going to touch on that tonight. But next month, diabetes and blood sugar control, that literally hits to the heart of all of fixing that. And many of you have seen that, you've been applying that, some of you guys, and you've seen dramatic changes. Keep coming to these, keep learning, keep growing. When you stop learning, you stop growing, and when you stop growing, you start dying. Yes. So keep coming to the workshops. That's one of my favorite pictures. This is from 19 years ago. This was at a workshop in 2007. And many of the faces in that picture you see there, I think on that particular workshop where you had over 100 people here, they're still here. They're still coming to the workshops. Denise, you're in the back there. Deborah's in the back there. You know, I could point out some of you guys that just, you know, it's a workshop culture. It's a culture of learning and growing. And we still do that here because it's still a vital part of the purpose that we serve. And so, you know, my gifts may be teaching and encouraging, and that's why I love doing what I do and sharing with you guys, but each of you have your own gifts and your own abilities that are innate, or God-given. And the way I see it is, if it's something that I can do to keep you healthy, then if you have your health, then you're much more able to go out in the world and in the community and help others with the gifts and the talents that you have. So it all works together. We're just one big body, and we all want to continue to learn and grow and be our best. So plug into the workshops, plug into the emails. How many of you guys get our emails every week? We send out an email every week. Sometimes it's written, many times it's videos. I usually put posts on Facebook as well. If you haven't been to our Facebook page, ask Deborah about how to do that, and we'll get you connected with that also. All right, so when does cognitive decline start to present itself? Well, there's a certain part of the aging process where naturally the tendency is to slow down mentally, or at least that's what we've been told to believe. But really, what the kickoff is not that we're old. It's not the chronological number that goes up. Really, what it has to do is the metabolic disturbances that start to elicit that. And so when they say at 43 years old, you have the onset of metabolic decline, what they're talking about is the average American, the average person who really is not being proactive with their health. And that means that you have more of a sedentary lifestyle. You're not paying attention to the type of calories that you're putting in your body, not paying attention to the toxicity levels. And all these things start to affect your metabolism. When your metabolism starts to slow down, your brain starts to slow down with it, right?
Yep.
And so that starts at 43, usually onset around that time. At 66, this is where the most rapid progression is. This is where we see cognitive decline moving into dementia, early stages of dementia. Now we see it more than ever. It used to be just dementia we'd see onset in the 80s and 90s. Now we're seeing dementia, people going into assisted living in their late 60s, early 70s, very commonplace. Full-blown Alzheimer's at 70 years old. Some of you guys know that. My mother-in-law at 70 years old. So it's super common, and when you connect the dots, it's always coming back to this. And so at 89 years old, they say as we get into the late 80s and the 90s, that's where it kind of stabilizes. But if there's any note that you're going to take right now, what is it right here? The most rapid progression, decline of your metabolism is in dead smack in the middle of your 60s. So what does that tell us? You really got to start putting more effort into this the older that you get. You have to take it more seriously, and more importantly, you have to take massive action. We don't get to sit on our laurels like our metabolism just riding that magic carpet like we did in our 30s and our 40s, right? Everything goes downhill after that. So, what plays the most significant role? We're going to talk about what needs to be fixed here. So, what are some of the significant factors? Number one is sleep hygiene. What is sleep hygiene? Does that mean going to bed after you take a shower or a bath? Is that what they're talking about?
Nope.
No. It means healthy sleeping habits. Healthy sleeping habits. Yeah, if you get poor REM, if you don't get good deep sleep, if your sleep is interrupted, if you're off schedule with your sleeping, what happens is it disrupts your hormones, particularly this hormone called cortisol. How many of you guys have heard of cortisol? Okay, cortisol is the stress hormone. When cortisol goes up, it drives inflammation. When cortisol goes up, your blood sugar goes up. When cortisol goes up, if your insulin levels go up, your weight goes up. So this one thing with your sleep affects your blood pressure, it affects your weight, it affects your blood sugar, and it affects your brain. So poor sleeping habits directly impact your metabolism and also cognitive decline. So we also see the blood supply decrease to the brain, which also contributes to the brain degeneration process, and also heart rate variability. Many of you know what heart rate variability is. It's the balance of the autonomic and the parasympathetic and the sympathetic part of your autonomic nervous system, which is why I adjust that top bone in your neck, the atlas, so that we can keep that in balance. And if it's in balance, you're decreasing your risk of disease. If it's out of balance, provoked by a poor sleep schedule, you're increasing your risk of cancer, heart disease, stroke, all of these things. So how important is sleep? It's one of these little things that if you get it dialed in right, it can literally make a dramatic difference overnight. And you may know all this, like, yeah, you were supposed to get 7 to 8 hours a night, but I can't, man, I can't sleep more than 3 hours, right? I can't sleep more than 4 hours. And I understand that, but there are some tricks and tips that you can do to help with that, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. But one of the other things is, and I caught my wife doing this the other night. She was watching her episode on her iPad in bed, and I turned over the other way. The room is dark, the air is turned down, and I'm seeing like these flashing lights on the walls. And I turn over, and I'm looking at her, and she's with the iPad, watching one of her seasons. And I said, yeah, first of all, you can take the brightness down on that. That works, number one. But even better is doing what? Having your blue light glasses on. Because what that does is it messes up your melatonin window. So if you're looking at any screens before you go to bed, it's really hard to fall asleep or get good REM sleep or even sometimes stay asleep. So keep that in mind. Also, if you like to drink coffee or tea, there's a time to do that and a time to avoid doing that. Exercise and sauna helps you sleep. So if you're having trouble sleeping and you haven't been exercising lately, watch what happens when you do exercise that night. When you exert yourself in the yard, Bruce, right, and you do all that yard work, compared to the days that you don't, you probably notice that you sleep better. You don't have trouble staying asleep. You get a much better night's sleep on the days that you exercise. And then neuromag. So if you're not familiar with this, if you do have trouble sleeping, there's two things I'm going to recommend. One of them is neuromag, which is, how many of you guys saw the video playing where I was explaining to you the magnesium threonate? The magnesium threonate relaxes not just the blood vessels in your body to help calm and relax the muscles and the nerves, but also the magnesium threonate in particular actually happens to be able to cross the blood-brain barrier. When you cross the blood-brain barrier, it helps to relax your mind. So I take a scoop of this right before bedtime, half hour before bedtime. And yeah, when I was away at Pensacola a couple of days ago, I didn't have it. I didn't take it with me. Do you think I saw the difference? Yeah. So as soon as I came home, so get right back on track. A friend of mine going through trouble right now, just anxiety, panic attacks. And he's been trying all this other stuff. And I brought him a bottle of this, a container of it. Told him what to do. Called me a week later. He's like, I'm out. Normally it'll last you like a month. I called him, he called me a week later. He's like, I'm out. How can I get some more? It works. What's that? It's a powder, yeah. You take a scoop and you put it in 3, 4, 5 ounces of water. Tastes really good. And it's worth a try if you're having trouble sleeping. It's a healthy thing either way. It cannot interact with any medications or anything like that. And then the other thing is if you have anxiety, you're jumpy, you just can't settle down, it might be adrenal fatigue. You might just have super high cortisol levels, and you need adrenal support. And so there's another supplement here which is called Stress Balance. Right, Deborah? Stress Balance?
Yes.
Stress Balance. And you can take 1 or 2 of those before you go to sleep also. And it will help sustain you, not just with sleep, but also your recovery and your energy the next day as well. So hopefully that'll help you there. But, yes?
Does the threonate mean that it has 3 different kinds of magnesium?
No, it's just the name that they gave it when they created it, that's all. Yep. So this is another hugely important thing that I think you guys have heard me talk about, but if you're not doing it yet, I really want you to ask yourself why. Because when it comes to preventing dementia, preventing falls, healing up your metabolism, correcting your metabolism, just overall, your hormones, and just literally the fountain of youth in terms of aging. I want to talk to you about the right type of exercise. How many of you guys exercise like more than once a year? Okay. Studies show it's actually good to do it more than once a year. So now there's a difference between doing yoga and a brisk walk and actually resistance training, like lifting weights or machines and stuff like that. And I want to show you why, because over the next 30 years, you're going to lose muscle strength by at least 15% per decade, some of you guys even more. And that's just muscle mass. That's not including your bone mass either, which is also affected by not doing resistance training. So ask yourself, in 10 years or 20 years, are you going to be able to go for a walk? Let's say you want to go for a hike on any kind of elevated terrain. You go on a flight. Let's say you got to get on a plane and you got to go visit friends or family. Can you actually carry your luggage? Can you put it in the overhead bin? Are you going to be able to open a can of spaghetti sauce or peanut butter? And these little things, are you going to be able to hold your grandchildren? And what you're going to be able to do 10 or 20 years from now depends on how you exercise now, the type of exercise that you engage in now. So you got to think beyond just what's convenient and what feels good, and actually start to challenge yourself if you really want to experience the golden years in a golden way. Because if you don't use it, you what? You lose it. So you look at these people right here, Jack LaLanne was well into his 90s. He was still doing what? Lifting weights. Ernestine Shepherd, she's 86, 87 years old, still world's oldest female bodybuilder. And she's still on stage, she's still conducting classes, she's still passionate about life. This guy right here, Jim Arrington, he's 90 years old, world's oldest male bodybuilder. Still competing, still on stage at 90 years old. So this is, it's not just a possibility. I mean, I'm showing you extremes so that we run out of excuses. You know, I mean, nobody here is really that old, at that age. You know, we still have a ways to go. We still have plenty of runway there to work up to. All I know is that if, Lord willing, I get to 90 or 95 or 100, I'd rather be, you know, at that level of fitness than not. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when's the best time to start that?
Right now.
Yeah. With consistent resistance training. Older adults who engage in that reduce their risk of developing age-related dementia, falls, which is the #1 cause of death in the elderly, right? Because of loss of muscle mass. Osteoporosis, also. Skin wrinkling, hormonal changes, diabetes. Look at all the birds you get to kill with that one stone. So what does that look like? You know, I mean, go for the brisk walk. Like, I lift weights. I'm just telling you what I do. Just because I see the difference, I feel the difference. I do cardio. I'll go mountain biking on Saturdays at Markham Park for an hour. On Wednesdays, I'll do a stationary bike ride for 20 minutes, and then I go for a 20-minute walk. And then on the other days, I'll lift weights. But the difference between how my energy is and how I feel on the days when I do resistance training, hands down, I would do it 6 days a week. But my body just can't handle that type of stress. It needs time to recover. So what's a good routine? Start with twice a week. You know, 2 days of resistance training, maybe twice a week. If you can do 3 times a week, even better. But just start somewhere. And then on the other days, you can do your brisk walking. I'm not saying yoga and brisk walking is not good for you. It is good. But does it have across the board every single one of these benefits? No, it doesn't. And so when it comes to the fountain of youth, nothing will trump resistance training. Are you with me? Okay. And so there's if anybody's like really serious about it and you need help from me, just let me know. You know, I can put something together for you. I'm more than happy to help you. You tell me what your goals are, and I'll get you on board with it. Dietary changes, just a few basics. #1, replace bad fats with what? Good fats, yeah. Because bad fats drive inflammation. Inflammation drives brain disease, dementia and Alzheimer's. Inflammation drives heart disease. Inflammation drives cancer. Inflammation drives every disease that we're trying to reverse and, you know, basically extend our life expectancy. So #1, make sure you cut those bad fats out. Go after them with a vengeance. Synthetic butters, hopefully nobody's got country crock or margarine in the refrigerator anymore. Cottonseed oil. Now these are the ones you gotta really look out for because they're in a lot of what's seemingly healthy foods. The ones with the nice labels that you see at Publix, like Special K, and all these foods that are supposed to be lean, like lean cuisine. You're gonna find a lot of these in there. The hydrogenates, the cottonseed oil, the soybean oil, the vegetable oils. You gotta be really careful with those because they are inflammatory also. And they wreak havoc on your gut and your brain. So replace the bad fats with good fats. What are some good fats, by the way? Avocado, what else? Olive oil, yes, what else? Coconuts, very good. How about organic grass-fed butter, right?
Kerrygold.
What's that?
Kerrygold butter.
Kerrygold butter, yeah. Almonds, what else? Cashews, yes. Walnuts, good, healthy fats. You should be having, like at every meal, you should be having some level of these. And it's good for your brain. It helps to quell the inflammation. Change the meats and the dairy you're eating. What does that mean?
Grass-fed.
Grass-fed, yeah. It's really not difficult to find organic and grass-fed meat anymore, is it? And you know, well, you know, you gotta trust the label at some level. We all have to trust. It's not easy, that's for sure.
When it says grass-fed, do you assume it's organic or
No.
is it
No, it's
Same boat.
right. It's not the same. So you got to look at the labels. And honestly, from when I go and shop, I don't see a huge difference in price from grass-fed to non-grass-fed these days, because there's such a demand now. It's really just become mainstream. And so there's a lot of different variations of that. When you go into the produce section, you'll get familiar with it, and the more you buy it, you'll get dialed in with the cost, what the expectation is, and you'll see it when it goes on sale. Load up on it. And then the dairy, same thing. You want to try to stay off the dairy as much as possible. It's as far as sinuses, allergies, post-nasal drip. Dairy has some benefits as far as, like yogurt having probiotics and things like that, but it really does a number on a lot of people in terms of the inflammatory effect that it has. So that's why it's not great to have a whole bunch of dairy, but nonetheless, make sure that it's organic. And then make sure that your blood sugar is under control. For those of you in here who are like borderline high A1C, you got to know that the jury's out, and you literally double your risk of Alzheimer's disease if your A1C is above normal. So the strongest Alzheimer's correlations have been shown to be seen with any measurement of A1C over 6%. So when you get your labs, if you're not sure of that, bring it to me. I'll show you where you're at, and I'll show you what needs to be done. But if you consistently run over 6, you're doubling your risk with Alzheimer's disease. And so it's very serious, it's very dangerous, and if you're sitting here looking at how to get young and feel good and look good, but your brain isn't good, what good does that do to anybody? Like, you could look great and feel great, but if you don't know who your family and your friends are, that's the worst of all scenarios. That's the worst of all of it. I would hate for anyone, I would hate to be in that. That's the last of all things that I would hope for. So the ideal food pyramid is to make sure you control your carbs. And when I say the carbs, I mean the complex carbs, like the pasta, the bread, the rice, the potatoes. It's not to say you can't enjoy those things sometimes, but what I am saying is that if you've got a metabolic disease, if your blood sugar, fasting blood glucose, your A1C is not right, if you've got these kind of problems, you're overweight, then you can't just have it for every meal like that. You're not helping the situation if you do that. What you need to do is eat more like this, where the majority of your meals are vegetable-based, fat-based, and meat-based. And none of that is going to provoke an insulin response. And if it doesn't provoke an insulin response, you're giving your metabolism a way to heal. But if you pound it with things that provoke an insulin response, like after you have bread, rice, potatoes, carbs, your insulin's going up. And your metabolism is being destroyed. So you have to give a chance for that. Yeah.
With more and more, if you go, notice the pastas that are made from lentils, chickpeas, and all that. Is that all right?
The only way to know for sure is to monitor it. Like if you had a glucose monitor, you could see. But you just have to see. Yeah. And so what I always recommend is, go to the extreme first to where you see your labs are on their way down, and then once you start adding those things in, your body doesn't have as extreme a response. Like Bruce, you were just telling me about that. He's seen some really nice improvements with his fasting blood glucose and his A1C. Went away for 3 weeks on vacation. Didn't do great with his diet, but didn't have that same wicked reaction with the spikes, because his metabolism, doing this for so long now, is really a lot healthier. It's not perfect, but it's a lot healthier. So once you start doing this consistently, if you do have a little bit of that, you may notice that it's probably not going to respond terribly. And you can always look after you eat something that you're not sure of. Here's one way to gauge it. How do you feel after you eat it? Do your pants get tighter? Does your buckle get tighter? When you wake up in the morning, you can kind of see it. Sometimes you can feel it, like right after you eat, your body will have a response to it. But it's a good question, David. Everybody's a little bit different, and also genetics play a part in that as well.
Well, it seems like the plastic companies are jumping into this protein pastas, reduced carb pastas, or chickpea, lentil, or
Mhm.
a wide variety is hopefully healthier than just white.
Sure, and yeah, there are definitely a lot of healthier choices there. Some of it plays, also, when I say it's, everybody's a little bit different, genetics also sometimes play. Like I had a food allergy test, and with lentils and things like that, I don't do well with that. Like I have a response. I love the way they taste, but I have some sort of allergy to it, and so that provokes an insulin response for me, and that also ties into my genetic panel, my genes. I had that gene test done a few years ago, and I saw that I was missing 4 out of the 7 genes for carbohydrate regulation. You know, so I especially have to be very careful with that. Everybody's a little bit different, so you gotta figure out what works for you and where your leeway is. And but this is a general rule, is a good start for everyone to heal the metabolism. Bruce?
What you might want to do, I spent 44 years in the retail grocery business for Publix. You shop the Greenwise label, that's all natural, throughout the whole store. If you go to Whole Foods, you shop their Whole Foods brand, and that's all pure. It's not much more expensive, like he says, but it'll be in the bottom 2 spectrums that he's pointing out.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. So Bruce knows Publix. You know, he knows everything about that. Yep.
That's what Publix doing.
Yeah, the Greenwise. Yep. So that's the real food pyramid. Obviously, we're all familiar with the food pyramid that we were farmed up on, and that was, everything down at the bottom, the base was carbohydrates, and that's the reason why we have metabolic disease at the rate that we do, and it starts in kids. So hydration. How important is this? All right. If you're, literally 1 or 2% dehydration, not having enough water, can cause you to fumble on simple math. It can affect your vision. I was on a 10-hour road trip. On the way up to Pensacola, drove another 10 hours home. And the one thing that I don't like to do when I drive is what? Drink water. Because then you got to keep stopping. And I've got a little issue with my left eye. I'm scheduled to have surgery in a few weeks because of a cataract. So it doesn't take much. If I'm not well hydrated, this eye gets blurry in a heartbeat. And so when I woke up on Sunday morning, it was bad. Not even reading glasses was helpful for me. So right away I knew. I was just taking copious amounts of my hydration supplements and water, and it took about 2 days. And I woke up this morning, and yes, things are back to normal. But it'll affect your vision, it'll affect your thinking, it'll affect your cognition, it'll actually increase the pains that you feel, the discomfort wherever you're feeling it. So what's a good rule of thumb for hydration? Yeah, half your body weight in fluid ounces. If you're not sure, just get yourself a liter bottle, and fill it up, 2 or 3 times, depending on your body weight. For me, it's three of those. And no, coffee doesn't count, and tea doesn't count. Like pure filtered, good filtered water. And what else besides your vision is you're gonna see your eyes brighter, your skin is gonna look better. And this is one thing that, I don't see a whole lot of people putting focus into, but when it comes to anti-aging, it plays a huge role. So maybe worth writing down if it's something. And along the lines with that, I also promised that I would highlight the foods that would also be helpful and supportive for healthy skin, nails, hair, and all of these types of things, beautification aspects. And that's in your handout. So I'm not going to go through each of these, but when you read through your handout later, take some time to read through it, and it'll help clarify the intention of why you're choosing the foods in your diet that you are. So it'll be really helpful. You'll really appreciate that. Number 6, eliminate what? Toxins. We know we're going to talk about lots of toxins, but the first ones that I want to talk about may be in your medicine chest. And it's a fact because, you know, any types of medicines or pharmaceuticals or medical treatments, they're not natural. They are made in a lab, and so they're chemicals. So they go into your system, and the most important thing is that at some level, you make sure that it's all coming out. So I know there's a time and a place to do this. Many of us have to make decisions to do these things at certain points in our lives. But my point is that you have to focus at some point on making sure that you're supporting your body's ability to detox, to purge all that stuff. Otherwise, it does cause these symptoms of accelerated aging. And anxiety and insomnia medications have memory impairment. Antidepressants, same thing. Steroids, cortisone injections, pain medications, chemotherapy drugs, statins, flu shots, all of these have the ability to cause this. You know, affect your brain, affect your body's ability to work, side effects. So first thing I want you to do is look in your medicine cabinet and take a look at that. And you may be having some of these side effects because of those toxicity levels. Also, when it comes to toxins, we know that, you know, the plastics and the bottles that we drink from, that's an issue. Mercury, where do we find mercury? Well, we see it in the fish there. We know we gotta go easy on that, but at the same time, mercury we have in flu shots, right? Heavy metals in the flu shots. Metallic mercury is found in amalgam fillings. Yep, amalgam fillings. Many of us have amalgam fillings, or we have amalgam fillings. We still never went through the detox process. That stuff stays lodged in your brain. There's still some levels of lead in just about every water system. There's some levels of lead, and in some cities across the United States, thousands of cities, it's just as bad as it was in Flint, Michigan. Aluminum also in shots and flu shots, childhood vaccinations, flame retardants that they put in your mattresses, your furniture, highly toxic. Fluoride, it's in the water supply, it's in your toothpaste, pesticides, and also something that we call glyphosate, which is the active ingredient of Roundup, which, does anybody here spraying Roundup around their house? Okay, do make sure you wear gloves, because this is cancer-causing stuff, and we all know that, but we don't think for a moment that it's in the food, the majority of the foods that we actually eat. If you're not buying organic, you're buying food that's been laced with pesticides, Roundup, which is known cause for cancer. If you haven't seen this study, this is a graph showing deaths from senile dementia, which is plotted against glyphosate applications, particularly with corn and soy. And this is, a 20-year period from 1989 to 2009, starting with about 5,000 tons of glyphosate, going up to 35,000 tons of glyphosate. In that 20-year period of time, you see the cases of senile dementia increasing at the same rate. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, you don't see that on the 6 o'clock news, do you?
Does eating something in foil contribute to, toxins? I mean, does that?
The aluminum, possibly. Yeah, the aluminum, possibly, yes.
I know what kinds of,
Yeah, this is true. But so keep an eye on these foods. Soybean, if you're gonna buy soybeans, corn, wheat, oatmeal, almonds. How do you get around the glyphosate issue? By buying organic. Yeah. Rice, grapes, walnuts. I eat a lot of rice. So we go out of our way to make sure that we're getting the organic. Apples, grapefruits, oranges, lentils, chickpeas. Again, are we getting organic? That's the most important question that you want to ask yourself. These are good foods, but only if you buy it the correct way, right? Again, so what happens? So what happens is when all these toxins come in faster than your body can get rid of it, it starts building up in the cells, and the cells can't get rid of them. And so your cells are like buckets of water. And what happens when you leave the hose on and it keeps filling up, eventually what happens? The buckets overflow. And when those toxins start spilling out of the cells and into the tissues, that's when you start feeling lousy. That's when you start feeling bad. Some of the most common symptoms of toxicity: muscle aches, exhaustion, weight loss resistance, especially brain fog, headache, insomnia, irritability, skin problems, body odor, constipation. So if you have been having trouble struggling with any of these, then it would probably be good at some point soon to be tested with your toxicity levels. So that's something that we can do here in the clinic, and we do it with two things: visual contrast sensitivity test. It's an eye test because when you're toxic, toxins affect the optic nerve. But we don't test you for the letters like in an eye doctor's office. We test you with lines for visual contrast sensitivity. And if you've never had this done and you watch and you see how that fails, it's confirmation that you're toxic. And there are different types of toxins. You know, there's biotoxins, there's heavy metals, there's general toxicity. We test for all of that. And then the other thing that we test for is a meta-oxy test, which is cellular inflammation specifically. This test is 1,000 times more accurate than a blood test when it comes to cellular inflammation, which is caused by toxicity. And it's a urine test. It's very quick. We do it right here in the office. And then between those two and a questionnaire, we can pretty much figure out where you're at on that spectrum. If that's something that you're interested in, ask Deborah tomorrow on the way out, and they can tell you more about it and get you set up for an appointment just to do the testing. And then if you are a candidate to have something done about it, there's a very specific protocol that we have that works amazing. It's world class. And we can talk more about that if that's something that you need. So, what I want to do is give yourself a break, a rest. I'm going to have everybody stand up and turn and face the person on your right. Put your hands on their shoulders.
I'm doing it in reverse.
All right. Squeeze the shoulders. Squeeze the shoulders. Get that stress out. And a karate chop. Very nice, very nice. All right. You guys are doing great. Denise. All right, turn around and love your other neighbor.
I stood up better than you are.
Lucky guess. All right, karate chop. All right, give yourself a round of applause. Please have a seat. Just I want to recognize somebody important here. Yes. You're gonna leave if you get up and sing your song.
No.
All right, so sometimes we like to give awards and recognize you guys, but I just want you to know that I love and appreciate each and every one of you guys, and I can speak on behalf of Deborah and Tamara the same. You're the reason why we love doing what we do, and we love watching you guys get well. We're your cheerleaders. We're always rooting for you and trying to keep you on track with your adjustments and with your home care and with your supplements, everything. You know, we always try to stay consistent and be there for you guys every step of the way. We pay attention to details. That's important to us. You guys are important to us. So when it comes to recognizing people who are really like spot on, we think it's valuable to recognize your achievement. And that is for perfect adjustment attendance. Never ever missing an appointment. And that goes to Ron Morris. Everybody, give Ron a big stand up, Ron. Stand up. Get some love. Get some love. We have a special medal for you.
Medal of Honor.
Yeah. Good job. Good job. Yeah. All right. Well deserved. Well deserved. Doing really well too. How much weight have you lost? 13, 14, 15 pounds? Something like that? At least 13 pounds. His blood sugar is 15 and 17 pounds he's lost in the last months, 5-6 weeks. Blood sugar's come down tremendously. I am confident your doctor's going to dial back your meds for sure. Huge achievements. Yeah, so keep up the good work. We're proud of you. Okay, so moving on here. I want to talk to you about something else that drives inflammation, that drives cortisol. That's just an irritant to your nervous system overall. Almost like you ever walk around with a pebble in your shoe, and you're too busy to get it out, so you just keep walking on it. How irritating! It's not just that it hurts your foot, or it's not just irritating your shoe. Eventually, you become miserable, and then you make everybody else miserable around you. And that's what subluxation does to a person's nervous system. I'm going to give you an example. My dad, as much as I love him today, I used to hate him when I was a child. And the reason why was he was subluxated. He was miserable. He was always in pain. And he was highly medicated. He had a lot of health problems. It all started when he went down a slide when he was in summer camp. And everybody was going down the slide into a lake feet first. My dad went down head first. And his head hit this tub like a battering ram. And the impact to his skull shifted the top bone out of alignment in the top part of his neck. And at that level, there's a little thing there called the vagus nerve, which basically controls and regulates your autonomic nervous system. And your autonomic nervous system is really comprised of two different parts. The fight or flight part, right? And the rest and recover part. Now, if you've got a bone out of alignment jamming into the brainstem and irritating your vagus nerve, shutting it down, well, how does that affect an individual? If you look at this chart on the right, you see all the yellow nerves coming off of the spine there, going over to all the organs? That's the fight or flight part of your nervous system. You see all the green lines, the green nerves coming off toward the top of the neck, going all out there? That's the part of your nervous system that calms everything down. And so what happened with my dad, when he shifted the top bone out of alignment in his neck, it shut all those green nerves down. It shut down his parasympathetic nervous system. So the fight or flight part was driven, activated, couldn't sleep, agitated all the time, cortisol going up, right? Inflamed, pain. His head felt like it was going to explode. Gained weight, he was overweight, he had thyroid problems. All these problems started to develop after what? After he had that accident, right? So the doctors put him on all these different medications, but never corrected the cause. So when I was in chiropractic school, I was learning about this, the chart that shows you all the different parts of the spine that feed out to the different parts of the body, and then all the health problems that can result. And I was looking at that top part there, and it's like headaches can be caused by a problem from the top neck, nervousness, insomnia, head colds, high blood pressure, tiredness, dizziness, all these things that my dad had. And I put 2 and 2 together, and I said, I'll bet he's got an upper cervical problem. He's got a neck problem. And I never really thought about the story that he told me when he dove into the lake. And I just went home and I adjusted him. I adjusted that one area, and what do you think happened? The first thing that happened was his headaches went away. And then after that, he started sleeping better, started becoming a nicer person, started taking less of his medications, his blood pressure normalized. He just completely transformed as a human being because all of his hormones started to level out, his body chemistry started to come into balance, and he started functioning and healing and working into society like a normal person. There wasn't a day that went by when I was a little boy that I didn't get a spanking. There wasn't physical abuse or verbal abuse. Yeah, it was part of, I was a bad boy, like all of us. None of us are good, not one. That's what the Bible says, right? So certainly I was above and beyond that. But my dad's nervous system was so highly excited and irritated all the time. All it took was just a little bit of noise, and boom, he would react abnormally and just take it out on me and my brother. And safe to say that person that he is no longer, because this area was not only corrected, but it was maintained. We never let it go back. It was like that for 40 years, stuck in this bad position. But every week when I graduated, he'd drive up here, and I'd be adjusting it again and again and again. Not just so that his headaches and all his health problems didn't come back, but we taught that atlas to stay in its normal position. And now, nearly 40 years later, not only does he not have those problems, but he's 85 years old. He's mentally alert. He's not on any medications. And he'll tell you that chiropractic gave him a new lease on life. And so, this is my dad right here.
Mercedes is on. Come on.
That's my youngest son. So he beat my 16-year-old son in an arm wrestling match. He said the Mercedes is on the line. He was arm wrestling for my dad's Mercedes. Wouldn't that have been funny if he won? So that was a couple years ago. But honestly, if you saw him today, if you're here tomorrow at 10 o'clock, you'll meet my dad. He doesn't miss a Wednesday. Chiropractic is his lifestyle. It's his bread and butter. It's his secret weapon for staying well. Does he eat good? Yes. Does he exercise? Yes. Does he do brain exercises? Yes. But he's aware of all of everything that I've shared with him, as well as what I teach here in the classes. Like way back in the 50s, the Journal of the American Medical Association published this, said deviations in body center of gravity, which is poor posture, have resulted in intestinal problems, hemorrhoids, varicose veins, osteoporosis, hip and foot deformities, poor health, and a decreased quality of life, and a shortened what? Lifespan. So, we're talking about anti-aging. Is this not appropriate? That means that if your posture is poor, no way you're going to age well. In fact, the people who lose years off of their life are the ones who never get this corrected. Wind up on an oxygen tank, and you lose years off of your life expectancy. So says the Journal of the American Medical Association 70 years ago. Hello? Don't be late to the party. Serum thiols. Have you ever heard of serum thiols? No. This comes from the Journal of Anti-Aging Medicine. So it basically shows you the DNA's capacity to repair itself. So you know that when your DNA, the telomeres, the ends of the DNA start wearing out, what's happening? You're getting closer to the end. Your candle is about to go out. So if you can measure your serum thiol, it tells you how robust that DNA is in terms of its ability to heal and repair itself. Does that sound important? So they did a study with chiropractic adjustments and serum thiol levels. And they had 3 groups of patients. First group received short-term chiropractic care. Second group received long-term chiropractic care. The third group received no chiropractic care. So there were 76 people in this study. Healthy individuals that received chiropractic care for how long? 2 or more years had higher serum thiol levels, higher than the well patients or those with disease. So it shows you that the longer people are under chiropractic care and getting adjusted, the better the health benefits across all levels. And that was seen from a genetic standpoint, a DNA standpoint. Here's another one that was published in the Journal of Manipulative Physical Therapeutics. 311 chiropractic patients 65 and older who received maintenance care for how long? 5 years or longer versus healthy citizens the same age not under chiropractic care. Black and white, difference. The ones who are under chiropractic care, 60% fewer hospital admissions, 62% less surgeries, 85% less pharmaceutical costs. Now, if I could give you a one-a-day vitamin that could produce those results, how long would you take it for? Forever, yeah. And so, if you asked me at some point in your care, how long do I have to do this for? What's my answer? Forever. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't have to brush your teeth, just the ones you want to keep. Your spine, you should be there to outlast you. Aaron Rodgers, We don't know if he's coming back this year or not. It doesn't look like it. But his father was a chiropractor. Did you know that? He said, performing at my best is important to me and should be to everyone. I'm blessed that my dad's a chiropractor, getting adjusted regularly since he was a child, right? Along with practicing other good health habits that my mom helped me establish are all part of my goal to win in life and on the field. So you see these multi-million-dollar athletes, they've seen the benefits on the field, but they know that everyday life is even more important. So says Dan O'Brien, gold medalist from the Olympics. He said, if it were not for chiropractic, I would have not won the gold medal. You obviously cannot compete at your fullest if you're not in alignment. What's the operative word there that stood out for me? It's obvious. Why in the world would you not get adjusted? Why in the world would you not want your body, your spine, and your nervous system in optimal alignment? It's negligent to not be aware and apply the information that you are receiving tonight, right? Every track and field athlete that I've ever met has seen a chiropractor at one time or another. It's absolutely essential. Right? So who's that guy down there? Usain Bolt? Yeah?
That's
Michael Douglas? Yeah?
Yeah, he do give me that.
Michael
That was
Phelps?
the action. Michael Phelps. Maybe Michael Douglas.
No, Michael Douglas is a chiropractor.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, Michael Phelps, all the Olympic athletes, they all get adjusted. Every football player, every baseball player. So it's, it's like people see it. You can turn on the TV today and you see these guys getting rolled around the field by their chiropractor. Like it's like on the golf course, they just did it.
Well, may I?
Yeah.
Tell you the story, tell the story I told you a couple months ago. So I'm involved as an announcer at Highline. Some of you may have seen it, still active. In Spain, I was happened to watch an event early in the morning when I was up in Spain, and there was a Highline tournament going on. They were in a championship match, and there was a break in the action called for. And this happened to be exceptionally good. And I'm thinking, God, this is a long break. Why is this taking so long? They're showing shots of the crowd. Here's a spectator here. Here's this and this. Here's two people talking. They finally take the camera back into the training room, which is off limits in the United States. Couldn't do that in America. And there's one of the players getting one side of his body massaged by a physiotherapist, and not 30 seconds later, he gave him a chiropractic adjustment in the middle of the match. The guy gets up, and they're walking him out. Like, if he's the player on the camera, he's walking toward me. The guy like zipping up his pants, walking around and getting all ready to go, goes out and finishes the match and wins.
Yeah.
So that's in the Basque Country border in Spain, this part there. So
Yeah.
even in the middle of a match,
Yeah.
somebody, I told you that because I was
Yeah.
blown away by it.
It can mean the difference between winning and losing. In everyday life with everyday people, sometimes it could be the difference between life and death. And subluxations are a silent killer. Most of the time, it's and that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
I like listening to him while he talks. He sounds like a sports announcer. He would be a good sports announcer, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
And maybe in the next one.
Okay.
But no, David's been getting adjusted since 2005, 2004, 2005. Yeah, our boys were in pre-K together. Yeah, but
How about when you did the Dolphins?
Dolphins, yeah, we used to adjust the Dolphins, and they still do. They just had somebody who had better connections than me, so he but yeah, you see the pictures on the walls, and it's like the secret weapon for athletes. But it's the silent killer for the everyday people, in our families, because you can't feel the pressure on the nerves. And if something is choking off life, vital nerve supply to a person's body, what is it slowly doing to them? Yeah. So when it comes to anti-aging, there's nothing more important than keeping those nerve channels open. What's the purpose of an adjustment? Is it to crack your back, to relieve pressure in the joints? Is it to massage your back, to make the muscles feel better? Or is it to correct subluxation, to remove the interference and allow your body to function at what? Peak potential, right? So when you go out and tell your friends or family, hey, you should go see a chiropractor, and somebody says, well, my back doesn't hurt. When I have a problem, that's when I'll go see a chiropractor. What is that? That means like saying, oh, I'll change the oil in my car when my engine seizes up, right? Does that make sense? Well, I'll go see my dentist is great. I have the perfect dentist. I'll go see that dentist when I have a cavity. That doesn't make any sense, does it? No. So we try to make this, applicable. Just like there's tooth decay, there's something called spinal decay, and your spine needs maintenance. If you wore your spine on your face, you would take better care of it, wouldn't you? Right? We would take our children. We would make it mandatory. We wouldn't give our kids a chance to object. You're going to the chiropractor. I don't want your spine decaying. If your teeth fall out, we could get you new teeth. But if your spine wears out, I won't be able to live with myself the rest of my life if you have to suffer from the same sickness and problems and damage that I live with now because I left you home. It doesn't make sense. Once your spine wears out, you don't get another shot at it. And it takes the nerve system with it. So, what's the most effective way to prevent this from going in this direction? Number one, start preventative checkups as what? Early in life as possible. That's what I did with my family, and a lot of families do that. Get checked, what? Regularly. Whether symptoms are there or not. Do it preventatively so you stay at your best. Get spinal checkups at the appropriate frequency. If you have, here's where this comes into play. Like, if you're 15 or 20 or 25 years old, and your spine looks like that all the way on the left, and there's no degenerative disc disease, and you come in once a month, probably not a problem. If you're doing home care, not an issue. But if you're sitting in this room right now, and you have degenerative disc disease, you're not in phase 1, you're in phase 2 or phase 3. But this orthopedic study show that if you're not putting motion in those joints, if you're not continuously reinforcing them to move and stay healthy, within 10 to 15 days, those joints will continue to degenerate. That's why I recommend, and most of my patients come at least every other week, sometimes weekly, depending on who you are. The ones that come weekly apply the optimal performance notion of this. You want to stay at your best, come weekly. The ones who come every other week, that's a next second best. I personally still get adjusted every week, but the majority of people are weekly every other week. Sometimes every 3 or 4 weeks. Very, very few people, especially if you're at this age. If you're younger, like if you have started a long time ago, yes, not a problem. Elmita, yes.
So, Dr. Yachter, what is the hairline on the spine? Because this person just died.
Yeah.
Because they had a hairline on the spine.
A hairline fracture?
Yeah, and they died. I
That's-
said if they knew you, they wouldn't have died.
I don't know if I go that far, but
What is
you know,
that, Dr. Yachter?
I don't know. Honestly, it's hard to tell. It's just from your description, but testing, X-rays, I could probably give you a better answer. But yeah. So all of the above, you want to get checked at the appropriate frequency. The longer you wait, you just slide back. You work so hard getting your health to where it is now. The easiest part is the maintenance. So I just want to encourage you guys to remember that because that's the most important thing. So these are my boys here on the left when they were a lot younger. And then this is from Friday, my middle son's graduation. There's Josh on the right, Gavin on the left, Leon in the middle. And what do they have in common? They've all been getting adjusted since the day they were born. Even Leon up in Pensacola, I found him a chiropractor going every couple of weeks. Gavin's going to pick up where he left off. Leon's going to continue up there. But this is a gift that keeps on giving. What's more important than keeping your family as healthy as possible as long as possible? And again, you can eat good and exercise, and those things are important, and I taught them to do that. They take all the supplements, they work out, they're fitness nuts also, but they don't skip out on their adjustments. You don't unplug from the source. That's the most important part. So I want to encourage you guys to, be bold, share what you've learned. And if there are friends and family that you have who you want to communicate this to and get them in and get them checked, ask them about the health pass. If you don't know how this works, ask them up front, because this is for friends and family. This is $500 worth of service for only $95. It gets the consultation, all the testing, the diagnostics, the x-rays, the report of findings, everything. It's an amazing gift that you can give to somebody if they're not under care in this office and they need help, for sure. So that's what we do, and that's making application with information. So one other thing I want to share with you, glutathione. Anybody heard of glutathione before? All right, the question is, how does it work in your body? Well, it's an antioxidant that repairs what? DNA damage. Does DNA damage have to do with accelerated aging? Yes, and one of the easiest ways to fix it is with glutathione. So watch this.
Gamma DNA is the most powerful antioxidant that you have never heard of. It's one of the keys to fighting off the diseases that you fear the most. It is called glutathione. Now, write it down because it's critically important. And here to tell us about it is the director of Yale University's Prevention Research Center, my good friend Dr. David Katz. So, glutathione has been described in many places as the superhero of antioxidants. Why is that? How come no one's ever heard of it before?
Because unlike most antioxidants people think about getting in a supplement, this one the body makes. That's the reason people haven't heard about it. It's going on all the time. It's also the reason why it really is the most important antioxidant. It's the one that the body relies on itself to clean up critical toxins. So it's being manufactured all the time, and the body makes critical use of this to defend us against a variety of toxins.
So I've got a little demonstration. I want to make this really clear to folks. This is absolutely essential. You don't have to talk about all the things to do in your life, right? The foods to eat, the antioxidant vitamins to take. They all work through this. In the body, you've got glutathione. And you also have lots of cells. Looks just like this, right? And so you've got these green normal cells, and you also have toxic cells. Some of these are from outside your body. Some of them are cells of your own that have been damaged by free radicals, and they've been oxidized. Damaged by the sun, damaged from foods, whatever. If you put in the normally existing glutathione in your body, it will soak up a lot of these bad boys, take them away, just like that. Now, if you don't have enough of the glutathione, now you put it in there, and you'll be lucky if you just get one of these toxic cells out. So you lose the powerful, natural ability of your body to heal itself. And we always brag about how the body can help you almost always recover, but only if you help it do that for you. That's what this segment is about.
Does that make sense why glutathione is so important? That's a good analogy, isn't it? Okay, so your body makes glutathione, you got that, right? Yeah. But you have to help your body do what it needs to do. What your body needs to make glutathione is N-acetylcysteine. That's the precursor for that. And that's why you may have heard me mention before Ultraplex Complete Clean. It's like an all-in-one shake. It's got a multivitamin spectrum in it. It's got protein. It's got antioxidants. So the N-acetylcysteine part in here is significant. It's 150 milligrams, which is a very generous portion. And when you take 2 scoops of this, you get all those nutrients. You get a low-level detox in addition to all the vitamins and everything else. You get a low-level detox that's happening in your body every day. So that's why this is a very healthy resource that I would recommend, and that's why I put it in here for the anti-aging part of this, because you understand why detoxification is so important at this point, right? You can't stop it from going in, but you want to help your body get it out. So wanted to share that with you. Also wanted to talk to you about NAD, this particular aspect of what recent studies, emerging research is showing depleted levels of NAD as you age. That big fancy word up there, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, don't say it 5 times fast. Don't even remember it. All you gotta know is that these levels decline between the ages of 30 and 60. It's declining 65%. And it's consistent. They find super low levels of this in diabetes, heart patients, cancer patients, Alzheimer's patients, and people who are just very frail and aging very rapidly. So they also found that restoring these levels helps to start reversing some of these conditions. So how do you reverse it? Basically, there's a particular supplement called resveratrol. And this is something that I've talked about a little over a year now. It's in our diabetes workshop, and it's also in our anti-aging workshop. Particularly for this workshop, studies show it supports DNA repair, healthy cellular aging. It helps to actually clear out a lot of the old dead damaged cells and make room for the new cells. And it also supports your immune function. It's good for your blood sugar, it's good for your metabolism, it supports weight loss. So there's a lot of different boxes that get checked with this, but for anti-aging, this is the reason why I take it. For your cognition, for all the reasons that we talked about. I started taking it a year ago. I take 1 capsule in the morning, and I take 1 capsule at night, and I've been doing it consistently. Personally, I've seen a difference. I would strongly recommend considering this if you see that it's a good fit for you. And so this all kind of fits into the supplement suite that we put together for you. Everything in there has, on some level, to do with anti-aging. The Neuromag we talked about, Resveratrol we just talked about, joint performance. Some of you have had that as part of your spinal correction protocol. Again, what this does is it helps with the joints, the synovial fluid. It also helps with joint comfort and mobility, and then you're complete clean. So tonight, as we do it only at the workshops, you're entitled to a 15% savings off of the supplements there. There are limited quantities, but whatever we have available tonight, you're welcome to get it for 15% off. And did you find what you learned tonight important and helpful? Yes? Okay. There's people out there that are praying for an answer, they're praying for this information. And I just want to put it out there for you. If the Lord puts it on your heart for you to bring this information to your religious organization or your place of work, worship, wherever, and you need a speaker and you want me to present it, it's a community service. I don't charge for it. I'm happy to do it. If there's an opportunity, you just let me know, and we can bring talks like this outside of these 4 walls, and I'm happy to do that if it's a blessing to others. So here's where we make application. If you are not currently under my care and you're a guest here and you would like to take advantage of that health pass, please see them at the front desk, and you can take advantage of that tonight. Get your resources before you leave. And then toxicity testing also we talked about. If you want more information on that, you can ask Deborah tomorrow. Other than that, it's time to go home. Thank you for being here. Love and appreciate you guys. Have a great night. God bless.